McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
Anyway, last night, I touched on a story. If you weren't listening last night, I mentioned a man who was declared brain dead in Kentucky after he had overdosed. And his family were around his bed. He was declared brain dead. He was declared officially dead. They said that there was no brain waves. You know, they can measure brain waves. And they said, no, he's definitely dead. Like, he's dead. And the family went, okay. And they grieved for momentarily. And they said, well, look, yeah, you know, they said, can we donate his organs? And they said, yeah, well, it was always his wish. Yeah, you can fire away, donate away there. So they gave him the walk of honour, which is where they pushed the bed down the hall and the nurses and doctors formed this kind of line on each side. The video is online, by the way, in the Daily Mail. They show you the video. And he's in the bed and he's dead. For all the world, he's dead. They'd taken all the tubes out, everything out of him because he was dead. Brought him into the theatre. All the doctors put their gloves on, scalpels out, all ready. Started cutting into him. He woke up, crying, screaming, leave me alone. Wow. Where would you ever hear something like that? Now, some of the hospital staff have been dismissed upon investigation. Other members of this hospital staff have left because they were so traumatised by what happened in that theatre that day. And what happened, and the ones who obviously said he was dead, obviously are now under investigation as well. I mean, it's literally the stuff that nightmares are made of. The man is back home, he's fit, he's healthy, although he is traumatised and they're saying he's having problems with his memory. That could be due to the fact that he was in a coma for a short period of time. But look, it got me thinking about organ donation. And there's set to be a new opt-out system put in place. It's not in place yet, but it's going to be introduced. We're one of the last countries to introduce it. We have an opt-in system. And I want to know how you feel about it. I mean, you no longer have to opt in to be an organ donor. Instead, you're automatically registered to donate your organs after you die. So your heart, your lungs, your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys will all be there for the taking without you having to give permission. Because, let's be clear, when it comes to organ donation, it is important. I'm not saying it's not. Particularly young people, their organs are more valuable than mine, for example, who've been around. My organs have been around the block a bit. Probably not that much value to too many people. But in saying that, a young person, say a young kid, 10 years of age, is in an accident where he dies suddenly from something. And the doctor comes out, mum and dad are sitting out in the hall, you know, waiting patiently for the news to see how their little 10-year-old is doing. And the doctor comes out, he does that thing that everybody knows where they pull the mask off the face and they have a sad face on them and you know immediately he's gone. The doctor is there to try and console the parents. We did everything we could, I'm sorry. Couldn't do any more. At what point in that conversation do you say, can we have his organs? Because it'll save 3 or 4 children's lives. There's no point in that conversation because there is no right, appropriate time to do that. Doctors are trained to ask at that right moment, not in the middle of when they just told them they've died. But there's no right time to do that. So the idea is with an opt-out system, the child is already opted in without having to ask. At some point, if the parents never wanted that to happen, they could opt out. And I want to know, do you agree with the opt-out system rather than the opt-in system? And do you have any reservations? There are people who have reservations about organ donation and they feel, particularly if they're religious sometimes, they feel they should go into the ground as they come out of it, so to speak, as they come out of the womb. But let me know what you think. The number's 087 188 0008. That's 087 188 0008. Are you all for organ donation or are you sceptical in any shape or form? Let me go to Sharon. Sharon, hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Sharon, organ donation definitely saves lives.
100%. Totally, yeah. I agree that when you die, your organs should be taken automatically. For my own personal reasons, I have a 23-year-old son who will eventually need a liver transplant. He was born with fatty liver disease, and he's in St Vincent's. And there are no liver transplants in Ireland. You have to go to King's Cross in London to get them done.
Wow.
So, which was quite shocking.
How come we don't do it here, by the way?
I asked them that actually only last year, and they said to me there's not enough people in Ireland to donate. So there's not enough there's not enough of a waiting list, basically. There's not enough people in Ireland to do it. Now, I know that I myself can opt in to donate some of my liver, or a family member if they test positive for whatever. But I believe that when somebody dies, if you can help somebody out, like I myself have no issues with it, then just take the organs. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's going to save somebody's life, like my 23-year-old son, you know, because the lifespan of a liver can be anything from 15 years up to maybe 20, 25, and the same with other organs also. So you want to give somebody the best chance of survival and let them have a good, decent life as much as they possibly can.
So what's the success rate of a liver transplant? I know a mate of mine years ago got
quite high, actually, and I didn't realise how high it was. It's actually quite high, because when they went into all the semantics of it and everything, I was actually quite upset myself as a parent, because I'd done too much research online, and you shouldn't do it.
No, but, don't ever Google. No,
never ever touch it. But I did too much, and of course I got, bogged down with it. But then when I went in to speak to the team in Vincent's, they were absolutely amazing. And they said, no, there is a very high success rate for the transplants, but we have to send them to King's Cross in London. We can't do them in Ireland. Yeah. And I'm quite baffled about that. So I believe that if this comes in, then I think it will be wonderful. And I'm not saying it's going to change the way that they can do transplants in Ireland, or will they still have to go to London? Obviously, I don't know that. But I just feel that if that option, that it was just mandatory, basically, then it may mean that the likes of my son and other people will not have to travel. I've, met other people who've had liver transplants, and they're absolutely remarkable people. And I just think it's wonderful. But to take that stress off a family who don't need to hear that when their loved one has passed or something, I just think it's amazing.
Because I did say that there's no right time. Like when somebody dies suddenly and the doctor has to deliver the bad news to parents or sisters or brothers who are outside in the waiting room, there's no right time then to say, well, listen, can we take a few organs? There isn't the right time to say that. So at least with the opt-out system rather than the opt-in system, they're already donors. They can just go and take them, and they can talk about it afterwards, I suppose. Yeah. Isn't that the argument,
Yeah, I believe so, because if it could save the lives of my son or other people, especially for a young person who needs a good chance of life, he's only 23. I'm 48, so it's different for me. But for him, I'd want my son to have a successful...
Sharon, don't be writing yourself off at 48, for God's sake.
I'm not gone just yet. But you know what I'm saying to you? I'd rather give it to a younger person than to give it to the likes of myself. But because I've lived life, whereas my son, he's living life, but, he's on a lot of medication, He's in treatment all the time. So, but it's something that I think that should be, made mandatory, to be honest. And it's not a selfish thing for other people. And I understand people have their views, they may be religious views, as somebody already stated, or if there's something wrong with any of their organs whatsoever, then I understand that.
I mean, I'd no issue with it. And mind you, I read that story last night. That story I read last night in the Daily Mail, or that video I watched in the Daily Mail last night, I said, that's things are like your worst nightmare. I mean, imagine waking up on the operating table and the doctor's about to take your lungs.
Oh, God, no.
No. I mean, the poor man wasn't dead at all. They said he was dead. Okay, but stay there for a second, Sharon. Can I point out to people, by the way, that would be a very rare situation that would happen in. But Martin, hi, how are you?
I'm thankfully, given the conversation we're having, I'm fairly well this evening now. Thank you.
Yeah, but you were a donor, but now you're not. You've changed your mind. Why?
I've changed my mind. There were a couple of reasons. I mean, first off, the conversation started off with this man who was declared to be brain dead, and it turned out he wasn't. Yeah. Now, he's by no means the first that's happened to.
No, I'm sure it's happened before.
He may be in a small number of people who they were just about to harvest organs when they cut into the person and the person woke up. I'll grant you that. That may be a rarity. But the fact is the man wasn't dead. But the thing for me is, look, I had no issue. I have no religious issues. I had no issues with donation of my organs when I'm gone. But that was in my gift. It was down to me to decide to do that. And for me, it's the same as if I leave something in my will to the people I decide to leave it to, nobody else has a right to claim on that. Now, I know people say, well, your argument doesn't follow. My argument really is that it is not, like so many things I say now, it's not the state's place to tell my family or me what to do with my body when I'm gone. That is not the state's place. I absolutely understand what I think your previous speaker, Sharon, was it?
Sharon, yeah.
Yeah, Sharon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand Sharon, and I understand the predicament that she's in. But it comes back to, I foresee a situation where when this goes real time, the default position will be the state have a right to harvest a person's organs. And doctors will be there'll be kind of tally sheets for doctors. How many organs did you manage to harvest last year?
That's kind of the sky falling in argument, isn't it? I'm not having a go, Martin, but we've been talking about this for years. For years we've been talking about this.
Niall. How many times? Look, I'm talking about here in Ireland, right? I'm not talking about other countries. I'm talking about here in Ireland. How many times have we seen it'll be, oh, well, we're saying this, we saw it in the abortion debate and referendum. No, that's all it'll be. It'll never be anything else. Now, as I said, this is a man who, at the start of your conversation, this is a man who was declared to be dead. I would say that the doctors, even in that case, felt they were under some pressure to go to his family and have that conversation. So I have opted out on the basis of, I want the people that are closest to me to make that decision. Those are my daughters. So if I ended up, God forbid, but if I ended up in a car wreck tomorrow and I'm in the hospital a couple of days and a doctor says, I'm afraid your pop is brain dead, I want someone in my corner at least for a week or two to say, well, hold on, let's see what happens here. You're not rushing him down to harvest his organs. Give him a fighting chance. That's all.
Aren't they going to give you a fighting chance anyway before they're going to turn off the machines to see if you're going to live or die? They're going to give you a fighting chance anyway. So obviously it's your
No. I'm sorry, Sharon. You're overlooking the fact that this man, as was the opening conversation that was discussed, this man, his family were told he was brain dead. Now, if you're literally brain dead, then you are dead. But this man wasn't brain dead, and he's not the first person to be declared brain dead who wasn't dead. I'm sure there are many people through history.
We had a shocking case here 4 years ago. It was the Mater Hospital, where the family were contacted and told that their father, I think it was their father, I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, was dead, and to come and identify him in the morgue. Family went. He was sure enough. He was in the morgue, all right. He woke up in the morgue. Now, but these are really, I'm going to keep saying it, they are rare cases. Yes, rare cases.
Of course they're rare. But it still, for me, comes back to the point that when the state step in and say, we are making this literally mandatory, that's taking the choice away from me. And I will never surrender something that I have a choice over to the state. We've discussed education of my children. Now, my children are too old for education. Well, for junior education, certainly. I mean, they can go on to further education and adult education. But when they were younger, I never surrendered my rights with education as to what they were taught. I would never surrender my rights over the things they were taught in religion in schools. And I feel exactly the same about this and so many other things, that when the state step in and say, we have a right to do X, Y, or Z, or take X, Y, or Z from you. No, you don't. People say, well, what about taxes? It's different. For me, I benefit from the taxes. I morally, I have no objection. I have objection to the way our taxes are wasted and spent on many, many things. But I'm a realist. I know that to run a country, to run a state and provide the services that are necessary, I need to contribute to that. I'm paying from it. I'm paying to it. I will benefit from it.
I understand that. And you know, what I'll say to you, Sharon, is I've just found that story. Sorry, it's a bit further back than I thought it was. When you get to my age, time becomes shorter. It was actually 2007. A man was declared staff at the Mater Hospital in Dublin earlier this month, was subsequently found to be alive when mortuary personnel came to collect the body from his hospital bed. So he was actually alive, but they had declared him dead. So it does happen. You know, it can happen. It's really unusual, can I point out? But it can happen. And what my mother used to say, doctors differ, patients die. It can happen. And I think that's the fear by many people, Sharon, that if you're an organ donor, doctors are a little bit quicker maybe. That's the fear. Now, maybe an irrational fear. They're a little bit quicker to get you off down to the theatre to harvest your organs because they want them fresh. Isn't that the whole idea?
I totally agree, okay? And before my son took really ill when he was 13, I was one that was like, no, it's my body, don't touch them. I don't want anybody touching my body. They're my organs and I should have a right to keep them. But because, unless you're actually in the situation that I'm in, knowing that, well, I don't know what the future holds for my son, I would like to think that somebody could save his life. And it's only because I've gone through it. And until you go through it and you watch your child be in and out of hospital and almost die, he was given last rites and everything. So, I mean, on 3 different occasions. So it's only when you see this, then you realise, oh my God, like we need to do something about it. And I do respect everybody's opinion, including, sorry, I forget that chap's name.
Martin, his name, yeah.
I totally respect his decision and his feelings on that also. But from my side of view, from my point of view, I respect how I feel about it. Because I've watched my son suffer, spending months and months
I can imagine what that's like, and you waiting patiently.
It's hell on earth.
Yeah.
And I was single parent at the same time. And it was hell on earth having that, to watch your child. And you do anything to save your child's life. So this is why I decided after that, then actually I would, if it was down to it, I would totally do it.
Okay, well, can you do me a favour, both of you stay there, because I want to bring Eddie into the conversation. I just have to take a very short break. The number is 087 188 0008. Let me go to Eddie. Eddie, Minister after Health Minister has suggested changing the laws in Ireland in relation to the opt-in, opt-out system. We're still there. Would it bother you if you were kind of an organ donor from the day you were born, Eddie?
So here's the thing. You're born a donor. You will stay a donor until you exercise your right to not be a donor, right? And the reason the state have stepped in is because there's too many good organs going to waste that can save lives, right? And anyone that opts out would probably change their mind if their loved one or themselves ended up in a position where they needed an organ, right? And I think if you take them to the grave with you, now, I can understand if you have religious beliefs, but if you just take them to the grave with you just because you want to die whole, I think it's quite selfish. You don't need them. You could save a life. I mean, my sister's in and out of the line here all the time. She's diabetes and she's had new lenses and stuff like that. But if she needed, like, I don't know, a cornea or an iris, and they could do it, and that's going to waste, and she's suffering, I don't get it. I think it's very selfish.
I agree.
If you don't have religious beliefs or something, I just think don't take them with you just to be 6 foot under wasting away when you could save a life or you could help somebody. And like I said there,
100%.
anyone that opts out, if you found yourself in a position where you needed an organ or one of your children needed an organ, I think you'd probably change your mind.
Yeah, totally. That's the position that made me change my mind.
I understand that position, by the way, Eddie. But what do you make of what Martin says and what we talked about at the start of the show? There is this kind of underlying feeling by people that doctors won't make the same effort to give you that last, you're in a coma or whatever it is, or, they pull the machine a little bit earlier because they want to harvest your organs, or, they might not make the same effort.
I don't know how long the body has to go cold until they can get the organs and keep them in a healthy state.
Well, I think it has to be done. It depends on the organ, I think, in particular, but I think it has to be done reasonably quickly.
Let's just hope there'll be some kind of study done on certain time frame and certain regulations put in place that as soon as you take your last heartbeat, you can't just cut you open. It has to be a certain amount of time, But I still stand by what I say. If I could help somebody out, take the best bits of me. I mean, you could end up putting my organ into a beautiful woman finally.
Trust you, Eddie, to think of that, by the way, yeah. You'll finally get your wish. Martin, yeah, I mean, look, all joking aside, what Eddie is saying... I know. Martin, what Eddie's saying makes a good point. Martin, if it was a relative of yours, or indeed yourself, when you need a new heart or a new, I don't know, hip, or the hips are normally aesthetic, and they don't know doing with plastics or whatever it is nowadays. So you'd be grateful if somebody else donated a liver, a kidney, a heart, whatever it is, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, if they donated it voluntarily. That's the issue for me now. Hang on. That does not detract from the... Excuse me, may I speak, please? That does not detract from the morals of the issue as far as I'm concerned. The state stepping in and saying, we have a right to treat you as a commodity, because that's what they're doing. Now, Eddie, I absolutely... Look, I accept what you're saying, Sharon. I understand. I've been in a situation where I had a grievously, seriously sick child after an accident. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to face life and death for a child. I understand that. But there is no point at which I would be prepared now to say that I am entitled to somebody else's organ when they're gone, or that my child is entitled to that. If the person wants to make a gift of it, that's fine. But not for the state
God,
to
you do everything to save your child's life. If you know somebody's after dying and that they could have used their organ to save your daughter's life, surely to God you're going to want to jump at the chance of that. Because I tell you something, I know for a fact I would, and I'd be so grateful to the person.
I don't think that's the point he's making, Sharon, and I think Martin would appreciate that, but the point he's saying is it has to be voluntary, done. And you know, Eddie, a lot of people do feel that way. I don't know whether you're saying it's a selfish thing not to donate organs, but that's just a personal choice, isn't it, Eddie?
Yeah, it is. Look, I stand by what I said. If you don't have, if it's in your religious beliefs that, you know, you have to go to the pearly gates hole or something.
Yeah, into the ground. The way
great, that's fine, yeah. But if you don't have those beliefs and you're just taking them with you for the sake of it, and you could save somebody's life or give them a quality of life even, I think it's very selfish. Take the best parts of me and that like, wherever I may go, end up, I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon that I'm helping someone else to have a quality of life. You know, I have absolutely no problem with it. And here's the thing, Noel. I guarantee you now, most of the population don't even know about this new rule.
No.
You know?
No, they don't. No. Well, I don't think. Here's the thing. Years ago, they used to be on your driver's license, didn't it? When you just ticked a little box on your driver's license. Now you have to tick the box when you apply for your driver's license because they're the newfangled driver's licenses. So that's how you kind of put yourself down as an organ donor. So you were on a database from the fact that when you apply for your driver's license. But you don't have to. And most people forget to do it or don't do it. And that's the problem, Martin, is we have a really low rate of organ donation in Ireland in comparison to some European countries. Because we don't have to do it. You know, there's no and again, Martin, this is not taking away your rights. The opt-out system means just from the day you're born, you're an organ donor. At that very moment in time, your parents can donate you out. They can opt you out, and then you can opt out when you're 18 as well if you wanted to. Be sure. There'll be, as far as I know, they're setting up a portal and all that kind of stuff that you can do all of that. So, I mean, you still have the choice to opt out.
Niall, the issue is here that the state are still stepping in and saying that they have rights of autonomy
by default. By default.
And that is not, in my opinion, that's not on. When the state decided that, I said no. I was a lifetime donor. I was signed up as a lifetime donor. Whatever, take it. I don't mind. But when the state turn around to me and say, "You are a commodity. You're a product, and we will harvest your organs," I'm sorry, that's just not on. I will never go along with that. I know what it's like to have a child.
Do not think we are a product. We are a product when we're born.
If you want to regard yourself as a product, Sharon, if you want to regard yourself as a product, you regard yourself as a product. I have a higher moral regard for myself. I do not regard myself as a product. I don't regard myself as a product. I am not here to serve the state. It's as simple as that.
You're not serving the state. You're serving the state.
That's why they gave you a
No, Sharon, I'm sorry.
Sharon, your daughters are nearly dead on a hospital bed and you need somebody.
Sharon, may I make a point here? When I was a lifelong donor, I was not serving the state. I was serving other people who might be able to benefit. When the state step in and say they have rights of autonomy over what happens to me when I'm dead, now I am not serving the people, I am serving the state, and I will not go along.
Okay, sorry, Eddie just wanted to respond to something that was said there. Eddie, go ahead.
Well, you have a right to opt out, right? Now, I know your Irish, Martin, is with the government because now they brought in this rule, and you're saying...
Well, they haven't brought in yet. They haven't brought in yet.
Yeah, and you're still getting the chance to opt out, and
which I've done.
If you don't opt, and you've opted out, and I think you've opted out on the principle of what they've said. You felt like, 100%. No, I don't agree with that. So now by you not agreeing with that, you're losing the right to help somebody else.
Yeah,
and that's the part I don't agree with.
No. Hold on. I said earlier on that I have signed over the rights that the state seem to think they have to my daughters. It'll be for
So
them
now you're
to
putting
decide.
pressure on your daughters to decide.
Yeah,
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Excuse me. I am not putting pressure on my daughters.
You are. You are putting
Not
pressure
how
on your
much-
daughters because it's not fair for them to have to make that choice when you could make
They're
that
having
choice
to make it-
yourself
yeah,
before your
exactly.
child. Because it's not fair to put that on
So
your
you're
children
saying
to do
that what you're saying is that I, as an individual, that the state doesn't know, doesn't care about, doesn't give a fig about, just sees me as a commodity, that they have a right to take and harvest my organs when they declare me to be dead. That's fine, fair and dandy. But people that love me, who want the best for me and for other people, I brought my daughters up to be moral, to be caring. I would have no objection if my daughters turn around and say, yes, take anything out of the old scrote that you want. You know, he's fine with it. I leave
Yeah,
it
but
with
you
them.
don't need to leave that decision to them
You
when you
don't.
can do it yourself.
Eddie, I just explain. You're saying I know I don't need to. I don't need you to explain to me that I don't need to. I could just toss it all aside and say, let the state decide. I am not prepared to do that because it is
Okay,
not
so
the
here's
state's
a question
decision
for
to
you.
make.
Say you're in a, here's a question for you. Say, touch wood, God forbid, and all that. You and your daughters were in a car crash, and all the four of you died. Then what would you do with the organs then? They can't make that decision because you're already dead. You can't make the decision for them because they're already dead. So that's four people.
Yeah, and we could look. We can play what ifs and what odds and where have you. We can play. Look, we can play all those games all night. It's not going to change, in my opinion, the moral status. That's the issue for me.
I just wouldn't put that choice on my child. I'd just make it myself.
And that is your choice, Eddie. Because that's the way.
I mean, and here's the problem. This law has been bandied around for the last, I've been talking about it for 9 years. The law, by the way, the bill is called, the new law is called the Human Tissue Transplantation Postmortem Anatomical Examination and Public Display Act 2024, which will introduce a soft opt-out system of consent for organ donation. Now, they haven't set up the register, the opt-out register yet. But like they've been talking about it for years, and the very reason it hasn't been done yet is because of this conversation, this type of conversation. But stay there for a second because I want to just go to Luke as well. Luke, hi, how are you?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Do you call me Joe?
Sorry.
Let's get the afternoon to you. Luke, I mean, you're on the fence, I believe, in relation to this debate.
I just find it as a very, what was I going to say? To some people, it's a very sensitive sort of thing to talk about. And to other people, they'll be like, yeah, no problem at all. And that's why I find it very interesting there to hear everybody's opinion there. Me, myself, well, I look at like, I know what that other man was saying as well there. His views are coming from like the government sort of, thing like.
I get what Martin is saying because personally I wouldn't trust the government to walk me dog. You know what I mean? So I do get what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people would say from that point of view. Other people would be like, no, sure, you're gone, you're dead. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give, like, say, a kidney or something there if somebody else needed it, like, and you were just,
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it as a very interesting topic, like. But me, myself there, the way I look at it was on my license there that I was like, okay, this lad's not moving anymore. That's it, he's gone. And then, like, there's somebody there, oh, that kidney will work for them. And then this other, like, everybody wants to, like, live as much as they want, don't they? Nobody wants to go on really.
Yeah, self-preservation they call it. Yeah, we all want to live long lives. So are you a donor now, Luke?
I never, on my license, because I didn't renew my license, like, I don't think I am, no. Because this law states now that you are, is it?
No, not yet. Not quite yet. The register hasn't been set up yet. But they are going to do it. But are you, when you say, I'm assuming you have a driver's license, have you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so when was the last driver's license that you got?
Oh, that was like...
It's not one of the old papery ones, is it? No, because some of them are still around.
No, it's a pink card. It's a pink card.
Okay, so when you applied for that license, it would have been on the application to tick a box for organ donation.
I don't remember it.
Now you can also, by the way, you can opt into organ donation. I'll get AJ to get the text. I think there's a text number where you can actually send a text or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, there's different ways of doing it. You can do it online and stuff like that too. But you can do the main way that most people do is through their license. Yeah, Martin.
Yeah, sorry, just to make a point there. I lost my license some time ago. Now, when I say lost, I mean physically lost. I misplaced it. I did get it replaced, and I ticked, there is a box. I said no. But on the old license, when your license was produced, it showed the status
On the back of the
your
license,
either
that's
a
right,
donor or not.
yeah.
Now it doesn't.
What up to the fifth one? Yeah.
Right? Now you get your license and it doesn't say. So I would like to be able to check what box did they actually tick and what's on the register. Now I'm sure
I'm assuming it's a database now. Yeah, it's on a database. Yeah.
But the whole point is, why is it not on the license? You see, this is where I'm coming from. I mistrust the state when it comes to almost everything. Almost everything. And I'm sad to say that. I'm really not happy to say that, but I am. I mistrust the state when it comes to almost everything, and particularly when it comes to decisions like this and decisions that are moral decisions for parents to make about their children's schooling, their children's education. All of those things are being treated by the state as though they have the right to do whatever the hell they want. And I will never surrender my dignity, my sovereignty and my rights to the state. I was quite happy to be an organ donor going along. I have no issue, no problem. But when the state step in and say, no, we're making it mandatory, we can take, then I step aside and say, no, you can't. I'm opting out. Because I will not have the state dictate to me. I know people say, well, what difference does it make? The difference is that I think it will put doctors under immense pressure to get numbers high.
Maybe I understand the point you're making. That's a fear many people have, and I've said that already. But maybe we're not giving doctors enough credit here. You know what I mean?
Hang on, Noel. Look, I'm not denying that there are some absolutely superb, fabulous doctors. But it's just like every other profession. There are crap doctors as well who hold people's lives in their hands.
Is that a fear you have, Luke, when you say you're on the fence, that they might...
I disagree with saying that statement about being crap doctors, because I can tell you something.
I said some doctors...
Please let me speak. Now, you've had your turn, now you're going to let me speak.
Go ahead.
Because Clemmons Children's Hospital saved my son's life 3 times. I'm sorry, but they went above and beyond to take care of my child, and they saved his life 3 times. They are not crap doctors.
No, he didn't. That's not what he said, Sharon. In fairness, he accepted that the majority of doctors are really good, but that he said, like all occupations, there are crap doctors. And Sharon, it would be fair to say, in every occupation, there's always going to be a few bad apples. You know, that's the point.
No, how many times have you read in the paper? How many times have you read in the paper?
Yes, sorry, just one at a time, quickly. Sorry, Martin, I'll let Sharon respond to you. Go ahead, Martin.
Go ahead. I was going to say, how many times do you see or read in the paper, or hear on the news, after surgery, the patients turning up with instruments left inside them, misdiagnosis of all kinds of things. And it's not that it was difficult, it's just that the doctors weren't competent.
But Martin, to be fair, yes, that happens every now and again. I remember years ago, somebody I knew had a scalpel left inside him. But look, the thing about it is, those kind of things happen rarely. When you think about the amount of surgeries that take place on a daily basis, like everything else, it's, like mechanics fixing a car, things go wrong every now and again. It's not perfect. Doctors aren't perfect human beings. They make mistakes. And we, by the way, we would normally see those mistakes in the High Court, because people usually get compensated quite well when things go wrong. That might not be much use to you, if you've been badly damaged by it.
Yeah, that's when it comes to light, Niall.
Yeah.
But I would say there's a good many of things that never came to light because it was just buried with the patient.
I mean, we've seen the figures there recently. I think I can't remember the exact figure, but per year we pay out millions in compensation in relation to things that have gone wrong in hospitals when they put their hand up and they say, listen, we did something wrong. And
can I say something there quickly, Noel?
Yeah, you can, Eddie.
So here's the crux of it, right? I agree with the proposed new rules, right? But if things were to stay the same, I wouldn't get off my arse and opt in, because I'm a terrible man for putting things on the back burner. And I'd imagine that's what Joe Public is like. That is why the state have stepped in and brought in this new rule.
Well, you can get a donor card, you can put a note of consent, as I said, on your licence, or you can set up, there's a donor app available, by the way.
Not many people do it.
Yeah.
That's why they've had to go and step in and go, right, you're all in until you want to be out.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've got to take a break. The number, by the way, is 087 188 0008. Might keep this going for maybe 10 or 15 minutes after the break if you want to, Martin. I'll come back to you after the break, all right? So if everybody wants to just pop off there, and we'll come back to you after the break, because otherwise you'll be waiting a long time during the news. But we want to know what you believe or what you think about organ donation. Now, you heard Sharon's story. Obviously, she has a young son who needs a liver transplant. And I didn't know, by the way, they don't do liver transplants here in Ireland. I didn't know that. But, so many times you hear about people looking for lungs, livers, pancreas, kidneys, or whatever it happens to be. And at the moment, you have to give permission because we've an opt-in system. They're changing it to an opt-out system, but they just haven't got the register set up yet. And I'm asking you, do you agree with it? Martin says no, he doesn't, because he doesn't trust the government. And I understand why people would feel like that. You know what I mean? That there's a million reasons they've given you sometimes not to trust them when it comes to legislation or changing things. So, but I do understand, again, like the point Sharon and Eddie are making, you know, you are saving somebody's life. Realistically, you're going into the ground or you're going into a furnace, whatever it happens to be, and that'll be the end of you. That'll be a waste of a good organ that could save somebody else's life. So I'm asking you, do you agree with the idea of being an organ donor from the moment you're born? Somebody's text and says, "No, where do I register to opt out?" You can't, not yet. They haven't set up the register yet. I'm actually looking at the HSE website here, and there is a section there about the organ donation process. It says the opt-out register. The opt-out register is not yet in place. There is no change to the organ donation process in Ireland right now. We will update this page with information on the opt-out register when the new law takes effect. The new law, by the way, once again, is called the Human Tissue, in brackets, Transplantation Post-Mortem Anatomical Examination of Public Display Act 2024, which will introduce a soft opt-out system of consent for organ donation. They did the same thing in Northern Ireland only recently as well, by the way. Actually this year, yeah, just in 2024 as well. But I'm asking you how you feel about that. Martin said he's not happy about it because he doesn't want the state taking control of that situation. A situation we have had control of over the last... I suppose, God knows, well, since I was born, obviously, it was always an opt-in system. Now, remember, of course, Ireland is not unique, but we are one of very few countries who still have an opt-in system. Many countries across Europe have an opt-out system, and they have a much higher rate of organ donation. Some countries as high as 80%. Ireland's is as low as 20-something%, as far as I remember. I can't remember the exact figure, so don't quote me on it, but we are quite low when it comes to organ donation. Hence, we have a lot of people on dialysis on a daily basis, waiting patiently for a kidney. And by the way, you can't always get a match. No matter how many organs you get, sometimes you won't get a match, and that's just the way it is. But at least if you've more of a choice, there's more of a possibility. Sharon was on talking about her son, who's 23, who needs a liver. Might have to go to the UK to get it. Charing Cross. I wasn't aware they don't do liver transplants in Ireland. By the way, transplants are not always successful either. Many years ago, a friend of mine got a lung transplant, which is quite rare in Ireland. We don't do that many lung transplants. But sadly, it didn't last him very long. He passed away a couple of years later. It didn't last very long. Some transplants just don't last. Your body rejects them, or for whatever reason, they just aren't suitable, particularly with lungs, which can be quite difficult. But we are getting better at transplanting and replacing parts of our body. And there will come a time where we won't need organ donation. I was reading about this recently, where they can literally 3D print a heart. I know that sounds bizarre, but they're already trying to do it, and they're working on it, and they've already done a small amount of cells and stuff like that, where they literally print with a printer using cells. And that's the future of organ donation, most likely. But that's probably another 30 or 40 years away. But in the meantime, we should stick to the plan we have. The plan we have is reusing old bits of our bodies to help others to stay alive. Sharon and Martin, stay with me there for a second. Let me just go to Niamh as well. Niamh, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall. How are you?
Niamh, it'd be great to have a day where we could just print off a new heart for you, or a set of lungs or whatever it is on some sort of 3D printer using cells. But for the moment, we don't have that. So are you an organ donor?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am indeed.
And you obviously do that voluntarily when you did your driver's license or whatever it was you did, right? I mean, what do you think of an opt-out system rather than an opt-in system?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, you can opt out. That option is there for you. I mean, my heart goes, sorry, pardon the pun, but my heart goes out to Sharon. You know, to be on a list and to be at the mercy of somebody signing a form or picking up a card in a chemist and signing it. I mean, it must be just so difficult. And if anything that I have can help somebody else, I don't need it. I'm gone. And if the worst happened and I lost a child, I do think it would be some gift to know that in the depths of your grief, you've helped somebody else not face the same thing. You may not have had a choice in how your child passed, but you're giving the choice to another family not to have to go through your grief. And I think that, you know, maybe that would help your grief. I don't know. Thank God I've never had to face it. But if something I can do, just signing the back of a card, can help somebody like Sharon not have sleepless nights, which I'm sure you do, Sharon, then I'm all for it. It's
can you understand why Martin, for example, and Martin is not the only one. There are other people texting in agreement with Martin too, and I'll try and get one or two of them on as well, to be fair. Can you understand why people have reservations? You know, we tend to get things very wrong in this country when it comes to legislation. We tend to move the goalposts. And you know, Martin is not incorrect about that. I've seen, look, everybody used the abortion referendum as an example. You know, 12 weeks, 3-day waiting period, blah, 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 blah. And now there's already calls to extend that or expand it. So Martin's concern is, okay, for the moment, it sounds cut and dry. It sounds, pardon the pun, it sounds fine. But, you know, what happens in the future? Will they remove the opt-out and say, well, hey, we don't really think you should have the right to opt-out? You know, so, you know what I mean? Will they change that in the future if we allow them to do this? Martin's argument is, I don't want the state having control over anything unless I willingly do it myself.
I think it might be very difficult for them to remove the opt-out clause because there are, now I'm not sure which ones they are, but there are some religions that don't.
Yeah, they don't even do blood transfusion. That's they end up having to go to court. Yeah, I know.
So in a situation like that, you said the other night about something else. It all has to go to the Attorney General and has to be absolutely cut. No, I'm using your expression again.
Yeah, cut and dry.
It's actually very difficult. There's a lot of expressions about that.
There is.
So I was going to say no skin off my nose as well, and that's another one.
No.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, it might be difficult for them to hopefully, because I wouldn't want them to remove that, because I do believe in choice as well. My choice is that I am happy to donate, but I do think choice has to remain, because it's not fair to take people's choice away. I'd love to see more people doing it so that people like Sharon's son don't have to wait so long. But I do also believe that choice has to be there.
Yeah.
Because there are, as I say, religions that don't allow it. There's just people's morals in some cases won't allow it. So,
Martin, if I could just ask Martin, you know, I know you're a religious man. I'm not saying you're a Catholic, but you're a Christian man. Is that part of it too? Does that come into it for you as well?
No. Don't conflate the two.
No, I'm only asking.
No. I was a lifelong signed up potential donor. Okay, I had no issue with it until this became the issue. Now, I know what I'm going to, what I'm going to lay out here. It may be unlikely, but it could happen. And it could particularly happen in Ireland because they get everything wrong. Everything is crap in this country when it comes to legislation. But let's say you have a person who has diminished mental capacity and they have nobody other than the state to make decisions for them. At what point does that person, what way will the courts decide on if that person who, for whatever reason, it's been decided they have diminished mental faculty, are the state going to say, well, no, we're the state, we make those decisions for you? This is, you see, no, look, it's not moral. It's not the principle of don't donate. I was a lifelong signed up donor. I don't like it when the state step in and say that what I was prepared to give as a gift, because it's not much of a gift, it wasn't going to be much use to me, but when the state step in and say, we have a right to take that, I think it puts doctors under pressure, but it also changes the underlying structure of everything. It changes the underlying structure of society and of those people who are willing to give. And Eddie, I find what Eddie was saying is confusing, because he's saying he thinks it's entirely moral. It's the moral thing to do, to leave your organs. And then he turns around and said he's not even signed up to do it. As far as I can remember, that's what he said. So I was passionate about it in one regard, and I'm still passionate about it. I have no moral, no religious, no anything else objections to my organs going to anyone else. If when I'm shuffling off this mortal coil, if I've been given a reasonable chance and the doctor say, well, let's see what happens for a few days, I've no issue. I'm leaving it with the people that love me. My daughters, they will say, I know they'll say yes. But it's with them. I want those decisions.
I know that sounds kind of very conspiratorial to a degree, Niamh. But
not in Ireland.
No, but not, and I'm going to just say that, not in Ireland. If we go back in time a little bit, back to 2002, there was a huge scandal in relation to, parts being removed. And I'm going to read a story here.
Yeah.
And it says, I'm reading the story. Fionnuala O'Reilly had reached her lowest ebb at Christmas 2002 as it approached. 3 years earlier, she had discovered that parts of her son Michael's dead body had been removed without her consent during a routine post-mortem examination. Her anger had spurred her to found the Parents for Justice Group, an organisation that was determined to uncover the truth about the unauthorised removal of children's organs at Ireland's hospitals. Now, that, by the way, led to legislation being brought in, I think, in 2023, and it put a huge amount of pressure at the time on the then Minister for Health, who was Micheál Martin, that whole scandal. And it wasn't just her, by the way. There was many other people that it happened to as well. So the suggestion that there's some sort of conspiracy in that the government would do things without your permission, look, it's happened.
They do it all the time.
Okay, I'm just saying.
No, I don't think they wouldn't. I mean, that's the point. I'm not actually disagreeing with Martin. I don't think that they wouldn't make a mess of it. What I think, if I was writing it right now, what Martin was saying about that particular person with diminished capacity, I think if you have diminished capacity, that means you don't have the ability to say no. Therefore, the answer has to be no, because we don't know what you would have chosen. So we err on the side of no. That's the way it should be.
But if the default position is that the state have the right to say, we're taking your organs unless you say no, if the courts make a decision that this person doesn't have the capacity to make their own mind up, I'm not saying it would happen. What I'm saying is,
it's a confusing one. I know.
I look into what I see happening in the state around me, and I would say to anyone who's listening, if they think, pardon me, if they think that the state are doing this out of some kind of compassion for people,
well, Martin, to be fair, there are people within the state, within the government, that do things out of compassion.
No, I'm not saying there aren't individuals. There may be. I'm not saying there aren't. What I'm saying is the state, that collective, the civil service, the government, the whole lot of them. Look at what they did during COVID with senior citizens and people that were sick. They were separated entirely from families and everything else. Look at all the people that died alone.
I want to go back, sorry, just to Sharon. Sharon, I do get the point that Martin's making, and it is to the extreme. I grant you that, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And, I know you're saying, we have to trust everybody, trust doctors, trust the government.
I wouldn't trust the government.
But, they have given us reason in the past not to trust them sometimes.
Yeah, but sorry, to a certain degree, you have to put your trust in doctors and consultants and surgeons at some stage in your life if you have to.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, you just have to do that, because I have to do it. And at the end of the day, when you're watching a loved one been taken apart or whatever they have to do to save their life. He had his gallbladder and his bile duct and everything removed. And he was supposed to be only 3 hours in surgery. He was 8.5 hours in surgery for this, and he shouldn't have been. So what went wrong on that table is beyond me. But at the end of the day, you have to put your trust in these people. And I understand his point of view as well. But for a person of myself and people who may need that down the line, and I do get his point about saying if there's somebody that's not in the mental capacity to make their own decisions, or they're in whatever, some sort of a home or something like that, whatever, then I understand that from that standpoint of view. But to say, because he used to be an organ donor now, but he's not anymore because he's been basically told what to do, that's wrong, in my opinion, because if he was an organ donor all this time, why change your mind now just because the government are trying to tell you what to do? It's morally right to do it to save somebody's life. And
No. I'm sorry, Sharon, you're picking me up entirely wrong.
If one of your daughters was dying on a hospital bed...
Hang on, you're misconstruing what I said. I didn't say that I would no longer be a donor. I never said that.
I didn't say that. What I said was, you said that you were an organ donor until you heard this is coming in, and now you're going to opt out of it.
No. I said I was a lifelong signed-up organ donor, but I will not allow the state to make that decision for me. That decision, I'm still a donor.
No, Sharon, he is still saying he's a donor, but it will be his decision on his deathbed or his family's decision and not the state's decision. That's the point that he's making. That the choice still should remain.
Yeah, but my point is as well, is as if, going back to if something happened to him and his daughter, like, how are you supposed to make that decision then? I mean, it's ridiculous, because I understand and I respect how you feel about stuff, I understand but you're not respecting other people's views on it. I'm there telling you I respect.
Of course I am. If other people are happy with it.
Not once have I heard you say I respect how your decision is, Sharon, or I respect how somebody else's decision is.
Hang on, Sharon. Just because you didn't hear me say it, you're making an assumption. I never said I disrespect your decision or opinion.
And I think you just like to be heard, and it's your voice or no voice. You're not giving enough people a chance to give their view, because it's all I'm hearing is you all the time. There's other people that want to get on and talk about their views.
To be fair, no, Sharon, to be fair, I've had 5 callers on, and Martin is the only one with that view. The other 4 had the opposite view. So I have to be fair when it comes to the conversation.
He keeps butting in. I know you're doing what you're doing. He keeps butting in and not letting other people talk.
Because you're attributing statements that I never made.
You did make them.
At what point did I say I would no longer be a donor?
What you said was that you're going to opt out now because basically the government is telling you what to do. You don't like to be told what to do. Basically.
So now it is, I opted out as a donor as far as signing up to anything is concerned, but I'm still signed up morally, personally as a donor, but it will be a decision that will be made by my daughters and myself.
Okay, well hang on all of you for a second, because I want to bring Stephen in before we go to the break. Stephen, hi, how are you?
Niall, how are you doing?
Good, Stephen. You've heard the conversation there. You've heard what Niamh said. If she could pass on that one gift after she passes or pops her clogs, that she would be happy to do so.
Niall, a quick one with the driving licence. If you look at the bottom left of your driving licence, even the new ones, if you see the numbers 115, that means you are a donor.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
So on your driving licence, it shows that's a 115.
Oh, okay.
But in a heartbeat, yeah, I agree for an adult. An adult should be a donor, because if you go, what good are they to you? You're supplying life to somebody else. You're giving somebody else another chance. But when it comes to a child, then I think that should be down to the parents' aspect of it, because if you give the government half a chance, they will take the organs from a child. But an adult, once you turn the age of 18, I feel like that you should give them up, because like I'm saying, what good are they to you when you can pass on? You know, my wife's father-in-law recently got a kidney transplant, and without that, now I believe that the man would be dead. He spent 6 years, I think, on dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
So I think without that kidney transplant, he wouldn't be here now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people walking around this earth that, you know, are alive because people donated their organs. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you should give it up, because like I'm saying, what good is it to you? But when it comes to children, that's a different story. Like your caller was saying at the moment, I know it's
I think, Stephen, but I think Martin's point is, because obviously Martin is the one disagreeing here, is it's a point of principle more so than a point of, you know, actually doing morally the right thing. So it's a point of principle.
He won't be here. He won't be here. So what principle?
When you say you won't be here, is it the fear that some people have? You know, I'm not saying Martin has suggested this, but the fear that some people have is you know, that you kind of be rushed. In other words, you're in a coma, that they'll be quicker to pull out the plug. They'll be quicker not to try and save your life. I don't know if that's even a thing. But that's what people have, that fear. I don't know whether that's an irrational fear, but that's a fear they have.
It's completely irrational, because when you're grown up, you're told two things in life. You listen to the guards and you listen to your doctor. There are two people in life you listen to. You know, so
and in fairness, they can be wrong too, Stephen. You know,
they can be wrong, Niall, but they're not going to do the wrong thing when it comes to your life or your body parts. You know, they're going to do again the moral thing.
Yeah. Sorry, Martin. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Look, Ireland is going the way of Canada, from what I can see. Now, look at Canada at the moment. A person can walk into a doctor's office and say they're depressed, they're homeless, they see no point in going forward. They will be assisted in committing suicide. Now,
under MAID, you're talking about MAID, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying for a fact. Hang on,
that's the name of the system is MAID. Yeah, okay. Well.
You know, it's a progression. There's always a progression with these things. I have laid out my stall. I am still a donor. I'm just not a signed up donor. the decision is in my head that I'm a donor, and the final decision is if I'm not capable.
But the argument is, Martin, if nobody knows you're a donor,
Well, my daughters know. It's very simple. My daughters know. The rest of my family know. If anything happened to my daughters, my next of kin, until I'm fully divorced, my next of kin would be my wife. She knows. After that, it's my sister, my brother. They all know. The simple fact is, I have no objection to the donation itself. That's not my point. My point is, when the state step in and say, we're taking control, I step back and say, not over me or not, because you do an absolutely appalling job at everything.
Just quickly, I want to go back to Niamh. Well, hang on, Stephen, just for 2 seconds. Sorry, Niamh, do you understand that position that's taken by people that, they feel that once you allow one thing, something else will happen or something, the goalposts will be moved? Do you understand that position by people?
Yeah, people are always going to have that opinion, and that's fine. But I think I'm just looking at it from a more human point of view that, forget about the government screwing you, forget about, there is real people, human beings, going to bed tonight not knowing if they'll wake up tomorrow morning because they're that sick, and all they need is somebody to sign a card. And whether it's the government telling you to do it or your own morals telling you to do it or whatever, does it really matter when it's somebody like Sharon just wanting her son to live?
Oh no, I understand that completely.
That's what it boils down to. It's just what it boils down to. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an organ donor on my driver's license, Martin. I mean,
and that's fine. I would never take that decision away from anyone. But you see,
and then just throw me in a wheelie bin somewhere. I'm not too pushed after that. That's what happens.
What Niamh is saying is that the government can tell you, or your relatives can tell you, or whatever. The government aren't telling you or asking you. What they're saying is, we are taking control. They're not asking you, they're taking control. That's the difference. The decision is being taken out of your hands. If you don't...
Okay, well, hang on, Martin. Stephen, sorry, what are you trying to say, Stephen?
So, again, he's saying that I forget the chap's name.
Martin.
But he's
How can you forget his name?
My apologies, lad. But you're saying that the government is taking control of what? You're not here anymore. They are literally no good to you. It's the same as when you die.
Hang on.
Listen to me. The government will take your money when you die. Same thing. The very same thing. So they're taking your parts that are less than useless to you. So what good are they to you? Would you not rather the government do this and potentially save who knows how many lives, rather than just be so stubborn and not help out? I know personally, like I said, my organs are going. I don't care. They can take what they want off me because I'll be going to a place where I don't need them. And again, why would you think any different that the government are going to conspire against you when you're dead?
Because the government conspire against us all when we're alive. The issue for me...
No, let me ask the question. I don't have much time. Sorry, go ahead. Ask the question quickly. I want to let Sharon have a final word then. Go ahead, sorry. Martin, answer that question.
Okay. The issue for me is, it's my decision, and it's like everything else. The government, when they take decisions away from people, they take one decision, then another, then another, then another, then another, then another, then another, and we end up just automatons that the government control, and I will not surrender that. I am not saying I won't be a donor. I've never said that. I will continue to be a donor, but I am not leaving it in the power of the state to say they are definitely going to do it. It's down to me and my family and the doctors I have to deal with if I have the opportunity to actually do that beforehand. That's my decision.
Okay, listen, Martin, thank you very much for that. Sharon, just a final word. If you want to put an appeal out to people, of course, because of people like your son.
Absolutely.
And just to let people know, by the way, if you do want to be an organ donor, you can get a donor card, you can do it on your driver's license, or you can go to an app. There's an app you can get on the App Store or the iOS Store or whatever as well to sign yourself up. But I suppose from your point of view, it's to give your son a new lease of life, essentially.
100%. Like, he's such a young person and he's a fabulous young man, and I just feel, sorry, I'm getting a little bit upset actually, because when I think of it, not just for him, but of other people, and I just feel that, give them a chance. As I said, whatever it may, I couldn't care less, take everything away, but give the likes of younger people a chance to live their lives, to go on and have a life and have a family of their own and create lives and, live a life that we are so privileged to be able to have. But to be just because morally you don't agree with it, it doesn't make a difference. It shouldn't make a difference to you when you die. Just take them, because you're going to die anyway. So you're going to be dead anyway. And I understand and I respect his feelings, but for the feelings of myself and other people whose children or loved ones need transplants, you know, it's a tough enough stage to have to watch a child be in treatment all the time than to just, you know, take a little bit of the pressure off the likes of myself and my ex-husband and other people, my family and other families around. Take that little bit of pressure off to say, well, look, if something happens, because as you said, it's like, you may not even be a match. I may not be a match to my own son. His dad might not be a match, and other relatives. So you might have to go further afield in order to get a match. And then, as you said, it may not even take, because you take a lot of medication, anti-rejection pills for that. But at least give somebody a chance. Give that chance to somebody to let them live a good life if they possibly can. Okay. I would do it for his daughter. I would do it for everybody. It wouldn't bother me.
Well said, Sharon. Listen, and thank you very much indeed for staying on as long as you did. And thank you, Martin, as well, because I do respect everyone's opinion.
And thank you, Niamh. You're such a lady. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, darling.
Oh, not at all. I hope he's okay.
You're beautiful.
Lots of love to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, darling.
All right, and Sharon, I wish you well, and I wish your son well, and I hope he eventually gets the transplant that he needs.
He will.
Good night, Sharon. How's the boy?
I'm very positive. He'll be great.
And Martin, say good night to you as well, by the way, and wish you well.
Thank you so much.
All right. Listen, thank you very much. It's nice when we can all be nice to each other just as we leave there, can't it? Isn't it? I do wish Sharon's son well, and I wish everybody well in that situation, because it is a terrible situation to be in, where you're just waiting patiently, you know, for an organ donation that could change your whole life. And I know there are young people out there who are on dialysis 3-4 days a week. They have to go into a hospital on dialysis, waiting patiently for a kidney.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's Classic Hits Radio.